The video game industry is a vast field with a lot of players. In the last year alone, $21.5 billion was spent by consumers in the video game industry. Today, 95% of all Australian households own at least one device for playing games. The gender split between gamers is 47% for females and 53% for males. The time has come when people of all ages play video games. There is no longer a stereotypical game player. Instead, the player could be your grandparent, your boss, or even your professor. The first visual video game was made in 1958. Dubbed Tennis for Two, the game was a simple two-player game of ping pong or tennis. However, video games didn't become popular until the likes of Pong, Space Invaders, Pac-Man, and Donkey Kong filled the arcades. Soon everyone was playing games. This eventually led to games like Super Mario Bros. And Tetris. Tetris led to the best-selling game of all time. The sales totaled to 118 million copies. In 2008, Warcraft, the largest MMORPG, had 10 million subscribers. In response to the Wii's motion remote, Microsoft has created the Kinect, which tracks the body's motion, allowing your body to be used as the controller. This is the first time where games could be played by tracking the body's motion. In 2011, Nintendo released the glasses-free 3D handheld called the 3DS. However, not everybody was happy about the increase in the consumption of video games. Many groups have been created to oppose video games, including Mothers Against Video Game Violence and Addiction and People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. While PETA is not against general violence, they are against animal violence in video games. Here are several news quotes and our responses. While this may be correct, this would be implying we live in a perfect world and we do not have enemies. There are also video games where you have the option to either kill or not to kill. There are even games where you do not have to use violence to resolve a problem. Males are generally more competitive in not only a physical sense but also a virtual one. Females are also less likely to play violent video games. Answering my point, the aggression does not also include aggression from outside the video game. It could also be that video games are not violent, they are incredibly difficult and frustrating. This also does not factor aggression from family matters, as they could also be a cause. Using this example tells us that even if people are getting aggressive from playing video games, it's not purely at the fault of the video game. If it were, it would also mean that movies and TV shows that portray violence could also have as much of an effect. Like everything else, video gaming must be consumed in moderation to achieve its benefits. Playing games in long periods will cause obesity and affect interaction with other people and educational performance.
We're all professionals, we all know the score.
This is legit business.
401ks, tax returns and all.
We're gonna move quick, and we're gonna keep cool.
My job, my score, get your own!
Video games are a very interesting tool because they can be destructive in somebody's life, but they can also be very helpful and can really help anyone progress in being more intelligent, having more knowledge and more experience, and it's proven to reaction times and eyesight. Video games, they're a very essential part of our lives now. It will all come down to moderation, because if you play in moderation, but not too much, it can be a very special tool and can be very helpful. Video games should always be taken in moderation. Video games is affecting my learning, but not in a traditional sense. Video games, it does it in an entertainment way that it grabs the attention of the user, because there's such an array of types of video games. There's beneficial things from them, but then they're not directly, because they're not like direct as English is. Because English, the point of English is to learn English. The point of gaming is to enjoy yourself. but there's beneficial things that you can put into the world that come from that. So yeah, it's that games that are directly for learning, people don't understand why those don't work, because they're games and it's educational. It's because the people who are playing it aren't enjoying it because they know it's a direct link to learning. Well, not just that, but yeah, it's not, if it's not a direct link and it's about enjoyment, if the game's first about enjoyment, then the best beneficial things can come after.
Before video games, society blamed rock and roll for violence and bad behavior. Before rock and roll, we blamed television. Before television, movies. Before movies, mystery novels. Before mystery novels, Shakespeare, who repeatedly was accused of producing violent, lecherous, and otherwise improper behavior in his audience. If a parent is just worried that their kid is playing Grand Theft Auto and not worried about other factors like their peers, society, or parents themselves that are influencing the kids, they are looking the wrong way.
Video games have the potential to help students develop skills that are necessary to boost their learning capability and their ability to do certain things. Video games have been known to improve reaction time, hand-eye coordination, logical reasoning, and problem-solving skills. It has also shown to improve quick thinking. In my opinion, video games are great for everyone and should be allowed in moderation. Too much of anything is bad, so playing video games with a set amount of time will allow the child or player relieve stress, since they may use it as a source of entertainment, and learn new skills will help their lives.
Video games are a great tool for bonding and teamwork. I usually find it's more fun having friends in the same room and playing the same games. I choose playing games with friends over playing alone. The best educational games are the ones where it focuses on gameplay and then add its educational values. If a game is not fun but is educational, then it won't work. Games like Portal, a first-person puzzle platformer, is one of my favorite games that require thinking, knowledge of momentum, and fast reflexes. Currently I'm playing Counter-Strike. While being a violent game, it is still a great source of bonding and teamwork. Video games are not the cause of violence. In fact, it shows that it is completely the opposite to the case. People are now more likely to play video games than commit crimes because of the freedom that video games give. People can do things in video games without consequences and live out their wildest dreams in-game rather than in real life. It is narrow-minded to think that video games are the bad influence when there's movies and books that are just as violent. It's the media that creates these negative opinions because they need people subscribing to cable. Most people saying that violent video games are bad are people who are older and do not play video games, and we need to lay this old theory to rest.